All right, exciting news. Atletico Ottawa striker and expected 2025 CPL Golden Boot winner, Sammy Salter. Sam Salter has signed a pre-contract agreement with Guys, which is a first-tier club in Sweden. Jordan, how big of a move will this be for him?
It's a big club. It's a big move. Allsvenskan in Sweden as well. It's gonna be top tier football. Look, I spent 5 years in the Scandinavian system, and the biggest thing that I'll learn it's just that point where you play well and you can move on. Of course, you can have maybe like a career similar to mine where you stay there and enjoy it, and you're playing decent football and making a living. But Sammy Saltbay deserves this move. At this point of recording, it's probably gonna change in a couple of days' times. 19 goals, Gareth Wheelers. No pens. Like we said this, I think it was a couple weeks ago on match night. You cannot keep David Rodriguez, Balu Tabla, and Sammy Salter all at one of them are going to move on, if not a couple, because of how productive they've been, how electrifying they've been going forward. I like this move for him. This is the time to go. Strikers in the game of football, it's hard to score goals. Sammy Saltbay made it look easy. Granted, I know there's many people saying that he's had that service. It's true. But talking to him yesterday and talking to him throughout this season, he said his movement and the way that he just thinks about scoring goals and the confidence that he has, he feels like he's always going to score every game and provide for his team. Now, taking that to Allsvenskan club as well, he just has to go with a chip on his shoulder. Yeah, it might not be 19 goals in 26 games, but showing that productivity, I think that he's ready for that move. And for Atletico Ottawa to replace a player like that going into next year, that'll be a tough task. But we love this. This is what the Canadian Premier League is all about. Players going and playing outside of themselves, but then making moves to better their career and try something new. And look, with Super coming as well, there's a world where this guy's maybe coming back 2-3 years, a better striker, maybe trying to take over the Canadian Premier League once again.
I still think that moving to Europe is something that a lot of young players in this country have in mind as the ultimate goal. You want to see how far you can take things. And we've seen a lot of players play in North America, whether CPL, more and more from CPL, by the way. Kudos to young players getting an opportunity. We're at a point where more players or just as many players are moving on from the Canadian Premier League to European clubs than do from MLS academies, which from the Canadian clubs, which I think says something. But yeah, more and more players want to go over there and get in the shop window. And Jordan's right. Like, this is what happens. You go over, play in a league in Scandinavia or Eastern Europe or somewhere on the fringes, and you can get noticed because oftentimes if your club does well, you have the chance to play European football just in terms of the Europa League, Conference League. And the club that Sammy Salter is going to is third place right now in the top division of Swedish football. Remember what a move to Malmo did for Derek Cornelius.
Yeah,
and
stabilized him.
Malmo's mid-table right now, and so he's joining another fellow Canadian, Matteo Debrienne, with the club, and he's doing well. So it's a really good opportunity. I didn't see it coming. Like, to be honest, a breakout year like this, but he's smashing records, which is difficult for young strikers in the Canadian Premier League kind of to break that mold. Kwesi Poku was able to do it, and Sam Salter's the next one. Generally, it's like fullbacks or defenders, but the fact that he's a number 9 getting a look like this, I think it speaks volumes to how much he has progressed and where his confidence is at right now. So good on him. I'm excited for the move. We'll miss him in the Canadian Premier League, and there's only one way to go out. He's got to jump over the 20 goal mark and go on and win a trophy. Lift the trophy in Ottawa would be the perfect goodbye. And that was the message he delivered to his teammates. So well done to the young man. Excellent.
Wheels, you brought up such a great point as well. I think my favorite thing post-retirement for the past 3 years is making these predictions in the beginning of a year, but also just tracking these players. Sammy Salter, we probably played against each other in 2021, 2022, where he never scored or he scored pens. This guy has transformed himself now in 2025 to be I back him going overseas and actually taking over games. That is what the Canadian Premier League is that you start as a novice and you end up being a pro. And we've seen it with certain names. You can go down the list of Tiano Boz, guys that have were never maybe ready or good enough, quote unquote, for the pro game, but they go and really hone their craft in the Canadian Premier League. The sky's the limit for them after. And that's just the beauty of the league. There's so much that goes on in football And the fact that we get a front row seat every year with the 28 games and with Can Champs and all that goes on to see these guys develop, I mean, it's just such a humbling and beautiful thing to see.
Well, I called him the expected Golden Boot winner, but I have a feeling that'll be confirmed sooner than later. There's a lot of goals that would need to happen for him not to take the helm. So
I think it's his. I think it's locked in.
Maybe make that claim. I don't know.
I think it's locked in. I think.
Well, I want to move on. Obviously, a huge move for him. So congratulations to him. I think a lot of people in Ottawa will be happy to hear he is finishing out the season with Atletico. But looking at the CPL playoffs this past weekend, every single team drew. We just said a second ago, Jordan, we don't know first, second, third, fourth, fifth.
Or fifth.
There's still so much to play for. When it comes to those games that we saw and some of the shaky performances from those top three teams, is there more potential for unpredictability as we enter the playoffs, Wheels?
It's going to sound silly because Forge has had a wobble going into the playoffs, just about every year, and it turns out okay. But I do think that there is an opportunity for chaos. These were bad results on the weekend for the front runners. I'm talking Forge. Forge was up 1-0 at home only to draw Vancouver. What's up with that? Forge hasn't played well over the last month and a half. Cavalry, the worst result, one of the worst results of the season, drawing Pacific. I'm sorry. Pacific were done and dusted. They're on vacation. And to draw 3-3, I know the Baldissimo got sent off, but poor. And Atletico Ottawa, they knew that Forge had drawn the day before, and only to draw themselves bad results. There could be chaos ensuing come the playoff time. Watch these next 2 weeks, because playoff positioning, teams hate traveling in the Canadian Premier League. The away form has been really bad, so every spot matters. That's why over the next 2 weeks, including the outcome, are going to be must-see TV to see where teams play out. And I think that could largely determine what could potentially be the storyline to follow coming into the playoffs. But yeah, let chaos ensue, please and thank you.
To Wheels' point, this is going to be a spicy weekend, but a spicy ending to the season. We don't know 1 through 5. We know 1 and 2, but everyone knows actually lifting the shield is huge. I think about this team, or think about this weekend alone, Wheels. Think about this. You have York United, who play at home against Pacific tonight. You got to get those 3 points. Saturday, Valor plays Halifax Wanderers. Halifax Wanderers have to travel to Princess Ottawa Stadium to a team that literally just got a point like this past weekend in Valor that are looking good against one of the best teams in the Canadian Premier League. Like, the storyline's right itself. I just think this is going to be a beautiful moment. And then everyone plays on the outcome at the same time next week. This is just going to be fantastic football. York got to get a dub tonight. Think about Halifax Wanderers. You have to beat Valor if you really want to make sure that you can have that 4th place spot. And then look at Calgary. Everyone's nipping on their heels. Like, if they don't get a win and beat Forge is obviously going on to be the Shield winners. But then Calgary could drop to a position where they're 4th. Spicy stuff, man. It's going to be really good towards the end of the season.